You know what they say, the best party guests arrive fashionably late. And here I am, fashionably late. So, it's seasonal roundup time for fall. I'm late, sorry, I just moved. Forgive me. Anyway, let's begin. It's go time, baby. So first up, Chainsaw Man. I don't really feel like I need to tell you that Chainsaw Man was really good. I'm gonna move to the side so you can see the thing. I don't feel like I need to tell you that Chainsaw Man's really good. Tatsuki Fujimoto is a fucking madman, and the way he writes his stories is kind of unbelievable, but it's really innovative, really creative, and his characters are kind of like, it's almost, I've mentioned this before with like the Gen Z thing where they're like detached from reality. Anyway, Chainsaw Man looks really good. Mappa went all out. The animation is fucking stunning. The battle scenes are so good. They don't miss. I really thought this was gonna go for 2 cores. I'm surprised it only went for 1, but you know, that kind of animation doesn't come in overnight. So we'll see. I definitely imagine we're getting more of it. I think the way they adapted the manga, where they kind of took it nice and slow, really gave scenes time to breathe. It was a phenomenal adaptation. It just really, like, since I read the manga ahead of time, upon re-experiencing it in the form of the anime, it just really drove home like how messed up the situation is in Fujimoto's version of Japan here with the devils and stuff. Everything is so unbelievably fucked up, and it's cool. So, and it takes a story of this kind of nature, of this style, to really grab people's attention nowadays, and grab people's attention it did. So combined with the mad fucked up story, the interesting characters, and the unbelievable animation, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and fucking tell you that Chainsaw Man was good. Of course it was. Big fucking surprise, right? Next up is Beast Tamer. I didn't expect this to be a huge project. It wasn't really, but it was bigger than I thought it was. Having a Mad Kid opening really is kind of surprising, and they really pushed it on Crunchyroll. So, but overall, I'm really happy with this show. This is a very cute little fantasy, and in this like style of fantasy shows where like someone gets kicked out of the hero's party and they live a happy life, you know, that it's the whole like the best revenge on someone is to be happy without them, that whole thing. Like, this was top tier of those. This was really good. It was super wholesome, super sweet. The characters were, you know, not really super, you know, they're not super deep, they didn't have a lot of depth, but they served their purpose really well, and purposes really well, and they contributed to the story, however, you know, basic and simple it was. But that's the thing, right? The simplicity really carries this show. It just works exactly how it is, and I really like the way they treated all of the girls in this show, because they're not like super all over Rain all the time. It's much more subtle, and it's not shoved in your face all the time, and they're still contributing to the plot and the setting, and they're their own characters, right? They're not like girls who have a crush on the main character, right? Like they have purpose, they have, you know, their own motivations, etc. And even like the running gag of like, oh, Rain can do it because he's Rain, just make it make sense in your head. It worked. It was funny. So it was funny the first couple times, and then you're just like, big lad Rain, go on, brother. Yeah, it just works. The setting's nice, plot's simple and easy to follow. Like, it's kind of like this one nailed like the balance. Like, there's a, you know, sometimes shows get way too deep for their own good into the world and the plot, but also if they don't have enough depth, then it's not interesting. This one had a really nice balance of that, right? So like, there was still enough depth to the world where like the mayor, the noble, whoever the fuck it was corrupted because he was a greedy bastard and abuses women, the whole 9 yards. So there's like enough depth to the setting and characters that it just works and it's easy to follow. And I believe this was an original anime, so kudos to them. It works. I'm really happy with this one. It's just a really gold standard example of like what a good fantasy story can be, right? Like this is the kind of show that's gonna get those quirky 16-year-olds to start watching more anime, right? Because it just works. Everything about it just works. and it's not gonna blow your mind. It's just there, and it makes you happy. It made me happy, at least, so who can complain about that, right? Next up, we're gonna talk about a show where students take practical exams that are different from the norm, gather points to rise through the ranks, and based on their points, can rise from rank D to rank A. That's right, it's more than a married couple, but not lovers. You fell for it, pussy! Where do I even start, right? The web of drama in this show goes into like the 6th dimension, right? There's like, this isn't even like a love rectangle, a love triad. This is like a love fucking dodecahedron. There's like 8 million characters, like useless characters in the show, and all of them love like some random person that's just may or may not be important to the plot. It's ridiculous. The amount of drama in this show is insane. Teenage emotions at an absolute high. But other than that nonsense, this was actually, it was all right. It really grew on me as it went on. I was kind of like around the middle, I think, is where I kind of peaked for me, where I was like, oh, this is so cute, like maybe like 7 or 8, episode 7 or 8. As I got into like the last arc where they were in summer vacation, I was just kind of like, this is fine, I guess, but it's kind of more of the same. But it also did a really nice job towards the end, where it was like, what's his fucking name? Where the guy that Akari was into was like, hey, I don't like you. And she was like, oh, cool. I guess I'll just go for that other guy that I have a crush on now. Great. There's a whole lot of interesting drama. I say interesting, but it's just kind of like pointless drama, like, you know, over dramatized. It was definitely like, I started out dreading watching the show because it was like, oh my god, this is so silly, this is so dumb, it's so pointless, it's almost so much pointless drama. But it gets cuter as Jiro and Akari get closer, right? It's just kind of cute. And as far as rom-coms go, I don't have too much to complain about. It's just like the web of drama is ridiculous, right? There's so much of it. The web of who likes who. With all that said, it's not really special either. Like, it's not really an amazing rom-com. The only thing I would say really has going for it is, like, you know that twinge in your heart that you get when you see like something cute happen, like in a show, in an anime, and you're like, man, I'm lonely. That's what this should, like, I got that a lot, because it's like, wow, I'm single. That's not very cash money. But yeah, other than that, like, it's amazing how many times Jiro and Akari don't have sex. Like, I feel like they get this close about 72 times. I'm not sure if the message is supposed to be to build trust in a relationship over sex, or if it's that getting blue-balled is cool. But I mean, yeah, overall it was cute. I think the way that the two main characters get closer to each other, and like how Akari eventually like starts crushing on Jiro and vice versa, it feels forced, right? But they're teenagers, and that's kind of what happens as teenagers, where you're like, anyone who's interested and you trust is like, ooh, marriage, that kind of thing. So it's fine, and I thought the art style was cute as well. I like the way like the color palette works with everything. Visuals just look nice. The only other net positive I could say is that the side character, the guy with the green hair, whose name I forget, is fucking hilarious. He's super funny. Like, every time he's on screen, he made me laugh. That was really good. He's the funniest, like, supporting, the guy who supports the main character since, like, Nisekoi. He's super funny. But yeah, other than that, woohoo, I'm lonely. Okay, Shinobi no Ittoki single-handedly convinced me that some writers wake up and intentionally choose mediocrity. This is like a gateway show, but like a bad gateway show. This is like a gateway show that's like for new anime fans, where it's like, are you patient enough to put up with stupidly, pointlessly deep worlds and conflicts, characters that are supposedly important to the plot that you'll probably see twice, and you'll never remember their names, and can you put up with an insane amount of like random story developments that make no sense until the very end of the show. If you can't, don't watch this show and don't start watching more anime like it. But I mean, the entire show, I just wanted the main character Ittoki, I just wanted him to do something, and he like all of a sudden towards the second half, or like even the last quarter where he becomes the chief, he starts getting motivated all of a sudden. But like the whole time up to that, he was like complaining about the world of ninjas even existing. He infuriates me. Ittoki is just not a good main character, and even his supporting cast of cute girls are so fucking bland. It's just boring. The plot is stupid. Like, it has its good moments here and there with some of the characters, like Ittoki's rival from the Koga clan or whatever. But the way the plot transitions from like no ninjas to school to all out ninja gang war, I'm a little confused, right? So the story makes no sense, the characters are bland, and it's just, and the setting is just not really all that. And like some of the characters I thought might be important just ended up not being important at all. And then there was like some random guy that appeared once that ended up being responsible for Ittoki's mom's death. It's just too much, and it wasn't good enough to handle it all. I don't know why. You know what? I don't know why someone gave the show the green light. Period. Like, it's not that it was bad, it was just boring and lame. And even like some of the battle sequences were just, and the ending was so whatever. Like, I think Kosetsu's good. I think the uncle is cool. I like the girl from oh my god, she's like the middle company or whatever, where she's like, what is justice, with the short hair. I forget her name. She's good, and that's about it. Like, I think Kyude is fine. Like, her whole angle with the betrayal thing, whatever, it's fine, it works. The other one, Ryoko, she's fine. Like, it's just boring. Like, they're not bad, it's just boring, right? And it goes all over the place. The point is, you know, the thing you take away from this is that I didn't enjoy myself really watching this show. So take it back, try again, better luck next time. But it wasn't bad though, it was just whatever, it was just boring. Take that however you want to. I've somehow gotten stronger with my farm related skills, something like that. So a farmer is ridiculously strong. I'm gonna blade it to you straight, guys, this one was kind of good. Way better than I thought it was gonna be. There was actually like story beats that kept me on my toes. Not that much of them really made sense or were super satisfying, especially towards the end. But I thought the characters were solid. The writing was good here. Even Al as like a main character is funny. It really works. Like the way the show builds around him, where he's only concerned with farming shit. Like, I love the town of zucchinis, and then in the town of zucchinis there's like a fucking demon who's taken over the body of the mayor. That kind of thing. It's ridiculous, it's funny, and it just works. Like, it's self-aware that it's ridiculous, right? That's why it works. It's because it knows that it's stupid, and it builds around that, and the characters contribute to the story nicely. Each little arc is fun. Like, this one in comparison to the last one, right? Like, the story is not super amazing. At least, I mean, the last part's kind of wacky, I would admit. Like, the last couple episodes, that kind of surprised me. But the difference is, this one was fun. It was like self-aware how dumb it was, and the characters contributed to the story and were fun to watch. So I don't have anything to complain about. And even like some of the backstory, especially with Ilvia, really works. Like, there was some depth to the characters and to the story here, and I wish we'd gotten a resolution with Ilvia, but it just worked. There's too much unknowns there, and I doubt we'll get a season 2 for this. But like towards the end, where it's like, evil god, you've been tainted by the evil god, and then Al gets like a blessing from the good god. That's a little bit confusing, but whatever. It was funny. It was very sweet, very wholesome, and these supporting characters are solid. I like. It's not that they were like special, right? They're still kind of like bland and whatever, but at least they were fun to watch and they contributed to the story. So like, if I come away with a positive impression of these characters because the story and the writing was good enough to make me like them, that's all you really need, right? Even if they're bland, who cares if they're fun? If they're fun to watch. So that's the takeaway, right? That's the bottom line. So yeah, this was, I mean, it wasn't special or super incredible by any means, but it was fun. So easy. It's solid. I really enjoyed this one, and it knows it's stupid. That's the big one. Okay, management of a novice alchemist. I really don't know what to tell you about this one. It falls into the category of cute girls doing cute things, but even with that category being as fun as it is usually, this one was kind of like, even as the story went on, it felt like there was still a wall of like some, like, you know, the four girls weren't entirely on the same page going through the whole show, right? And because of that, it felt like there was some kind of barrier in between them all, where they didn't, like, the writing and the dialogue couldn't go as nicely as I wanted to, and they were never as close as I wanted the four of them to be. And even besides that, like, story was fine. It just kind of escalated little by little. And, you know, Sarasa's backstory being like, oh, she's got an unbelievable amount of magic power. And then, like, and then she meets her master. It's fine. It just is what it is, right? Like, I enjoyed myself watching this one. Not as much as the last one, but, you know, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't really good. It just was kind of there. This one was the most just kind of there out of all of them this season. It just kind of was its own little thing. It didn't escalate to a point where it was like super compelling, because Sarasa having the fucking huge amount of magic never really, you know, she had a proper challenge with the salamander, but for the most part it was just like she could take care of any of the problems, really. There wasn't much of a struggle throughout. I do like the angle of like her parents who like disappeared or whatever, left her their old shop, but she was like, I like being in the village, and she goes back to the village. It's a cute little thing, but I mean, overall it was just kind of whatever. It was a nice little story of like, city girl moves out to the country, all the people welcome her in the village, and she finds and makes a happy life doing what she loves in the fucking village in the middle of nowhere. It's fine. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of like whatever, you know. It is a show. I'm not a shoujo person, but I did watch I'm the Villainess, so I'm Taming the Final Boss. I thought it was alright, you know. The main character, Eileen, she's really charismatic and really carries the show on her back. She's got the entire fucking load on her back. She's got like all of the bland characters surrounding her. She's fucking carrying them. It was good stuff. I think as far as shoujos go, it's kind of got an properly interesting concept because it's an isekai. Having the main girl, who I guess is the protagonist of the dating sim game, being another person who's reincarnated, who's kind of like a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that worked, right? Like, that was a cool rivalry, or would you call it like their nemesis? Well, whatever. Like, that was cool, and the way they like clashed with each other was solid, and it was always like, can one outwit the other, that kind of thing. So, and they kind of work with the supporting characters to make things worse or make things better depending on the situation, or who they are rather. And I think Claude as like the main love interest. I think he was all right. I don't like the shoujo thing where like as soon as they fall for the protagonist, they become a fucking boring ass loser who only wants to see her smile, whatever. Like it's boring and whatever. So, but I mean, other than that, it's like a lot of the supporting characters were fine. They're like, you know, they do their part, and you know, some of the stuff with like the demon incense and the church of whoever. There's some interesting parts of the world here, and the setting's nice and deep and complicated if you like that kind of thing. There's a crow that talks. He's cool. I like that guy. Eileen's just really good, though. Rie Takahashi really did an amazing job with her performance for Eileen. Like I said, carried the show. I honestly couldn't tell you the name of a single one of those guys that were like her little, you know, flock of underlings. I couldn't tell you a single one of their names, but yeah, it's just it's fine because, you know, the story, even though I feel like it jumps from place to place a little bit too much, it works, right? You know, that's probably where the light novels jump. You know, the first 4 episodes was volume 1, etc., etc. So it's fine. Each is like a very self-contained kind of thing, and I like the way it ends. So if you like shoujo stuff, you'll probably like this. It's I think it's really solid for what it is anyway. So I just wish, like, you know, everyone complains like once girls in harem shows fall in love with the protagonist, they become boring and whatever. I've probably complained about it, but the same shit happens in shoujo, and it still sucks. It's not any better or worse. It's just bad. Like, the character's only character trait can't be that they're in love with the protagonist. That's lame and boring. Like, literally everything Claude does now is like to make her smile, or he wants to make her cry. That's right, I knew that. But yeah, boring. But yeah, other than that, cool, solid stuff, and Eileen's really good. All right, Reincarnated as a sword. Yes, it's just as dumb as it sounds. It's an isekai about a guy who becomes a sword, and I thought it was really cute. The way that Fran develops throughout the whole show, very sweet, and their relationship is very, very wholesome and sweet. So I enjoyed this one. The setting, supporting characters were all solid. This feels like another one of those isekai where they kind of come in and just do whatever, but it works. And yeah, I don't have too much to complain about here. A lot of the fight scenes were pretty cool throughout each of the different arcs and stuff, and even the leveling system kind of makes sense, right? You can't say that about a lot of isekai. It was just good stuff. Overall, I enjoyed myself, and you know, characters like Amanda, who are kind of left a mystery. There's some backstory about Amanda we haven't learned yet, even with Fran and like the deal with who the black cats are. Because there's more than they explain to us, right? Surely there is. It was just cute little isekai about a small cat girl who wields a giant sword, who has also been isekai'd. Do with that information whatever you do with that information what you will. Whoops. All right, Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch of Mercury, Part 1. I gotta be honest, this show took my Gundam virginity. I've never seen a Gundam show before this. I liked this one. I really did. It's, again, it feels like it has achieved something. Maybe it's a little over the deep end, but it feels like there's just the right amount of depth to the world, to the point where I can understand it all, right? If I really wanted to. Like, it's just enough to the point where it's not super complicated, but it also, there's enough at play to make the world really deep and interesting. And I think Sleta, as the main character, Sleta, I don't know how you fucking say her name, but either way, Sleta as the main character, I think, like, I've never seen a Gundam show before this, like I said, but it was interesting to have her be like, have this like contrast where she's really good at piloting the Gundam bots, and then also she's really shy around new people and has a hard time conveying her thoughts properly. And having the contrast to, I can't believe I don't remember her name because I'm gonna go find it. The secondary girl, they contrast really well, and the progression of the story makes sense, and it works. Miorine, that's right. I didn't know that, but good stuff. Not much to complain about here. We're getting part 2. I believe it's in the spring. Solid stuff. The development of the story works. Like the progression of each character, especially like as Suletta gains more street cred, more like she gets more her reputation grows. Miorine starting up the company and all that for Gundams to comply with the agreement, the whole 9 yards. A lot of it works, so it's good stuff. And obviously it's a Gundam show, so the visuals are really impressive. A lot of the fight scenes look really awesome. So yeah, and I like the characters. There's more depth to some of them than you might think. So I admit it did catch me off guard a handful of times. So good stuff. Applause to it for that. And yeah, really solid. I like the there's just the way that Suletta becomes more confident in herself over time. Really sweet. And I'm curious, it hasn't finished as of this moment. I haven't seen 11, and then episode 12 hasn't come out yet, but yeah, it's been really great so far. I've enjoyed myself, so good stuff. We'll see what part 2 brings in the spring. All right, next up, Love Flops. This one caught me off guard. You want to talk about catching me off guard? This one caught me off guard 12 separate times. It was good. I really liked Love Flops. It really surprised me because it kept becoming more and more insane with every episode. But the setting, I'm a sucker for the fucking futuristic city settings. I fucking love those. And then it just gets more and more wacky every single episode, because like every time it like expands into a new dimension, right? Because it starts off pretty tame, and then it starts to change where it's like you learn that Mongfa is like a former assassin or whatever, and then Kari becomes a magical girl, and then and then Aoi goes like Insano style and goes Yandere mode, and then he wakes up the next episode and is like, oh yeah, by the way, those last 6 episodes, yeah, that was VR. Sorry we didn't tell you. It just goes into a new dimension of insanity with every episode, and then it kind of levels out towards the end, but it also concludes in a really nice way. The ending of the show was awesome. I thought it was like perfect for what it was anyway. But yeah, it just, the characters are fun. Like, I like that it dedicates an episode to each of the supporting characters, or to the main, they're not really supporting, the main 5 girls, right? I love that it dedicates a specific episode to that, and it constantly is teasing the whole eye thing, where they're like, they have a shared past with Asahi. Thank you, I got it. They have a shared past with Asahi, and they all have very specific memories that made them fall for him, that kind of thing. It's stupid, but it's fun, and the way the story progresses is just insane. It's so wacky. And even like the scientist girl and her little assistant, who are like the ones who sent Asahi back into the VR dimension to see Ai again, they're fun. I love those two. Yeah, good stuff all the way through. I was really surprised because it starts off kind of mundane and then just grows and ends in a really nice way. So, that ending was so gorgeous. Like, wow. Yeah, good stuff. Big fan of that one. As far as like the alternative rom-coms go from like the past few seasons, this has got to be one of the best ones. There's so many rom-coms that just aren't funny, because it's romantic comedy. It's supposed to be funny. So I feel like a lot of anime rom-coms don't get the memo. This one did. And it was an original too. It wasn't even a manga or anything. And it was really, really good. Like, surprisingly good. So Good stuff. I'm a big fan of that one. Next up, my favorite show of all time, my new favorite show of all time, Akiba Maid War. This is possibly the greatest thing to ever be conceived into existence. Possibly. A while back, a couple roundups ago, I talked about the perfect stupid show. And this is not quite there yet, but it is even closer to the singularity. Because it is so dumb. The concept is so stupid, right? Like you're a businessman, you're a startup story writer, and you go into a business meeting, you sit down at the fucking long ass table at the head, and you're like, all right, young man, let me hear your ideas. Like, so like, what if we made a show set in 1999 where all of the maids are under a big oppressive parent company, and all the different cafes have like sometimes shoot each other. So like maids have guns and they go around shooting each other, yelling "Moe Moe Kyun," and hearts come out of them, but also bullets come out of the guns, and they die, and it's cool. All right, hey, get that green light. We're putting it through. No deliberation necessary. Put that in. And the opening is probably the greatest musical composition of all time. I'm willing to bet. The opening is a masterpiece. Oh my god. Yeah, no, this is so good. The reason is I love this so much is because, again, it sounds stupid, and it is stupid. It is just as stupid as it sounds, because the maids, like, they go around fucking shooting people, and a bunch of them die, and they're like, they all make fun of each other sometimes, and they all have to obey this oppressive creature land group. But there's also an awesome, like, story behind it all, right? Because you have Ronko and her little sworn sister, and the sworn sister's the head of the creature land group, but Ronko just wants to be a humble maid at a pig themed cafe, and then you have the main character, Nagomi. I got it. The main character Nagomi, who's like so wholesome and pure, the way a maid's supposed to be, that like everyone's like, oh, she can change the maid industry for the better. And she's constantly trying to avoid the whole gunfighting angle. But it's like constantly teased that her pure heart of a maid can like change the whole industry. And but then at the very end, when Ronko dies, she like goes rogue and like starts shooting people and shit, and she's become the very thing she despised. But then she remembers the pure heart of a maid and actually does change the industry. And the ending is so good. It's just great. It's just so good. I absolutely love the show. Like even the supporting characters. I thought the manager of the Doinky Doink Cafe was fucking hilarious. She always made me laugh. And the other maids that were supporting, like the foreign girl who kind of sounded like a grandma, plus the Gyaru and the little more petite girl. Very fun, great characters. I like, not great characters, but they're fun, right? They're fun to watch, and the way all of the main the Oinky Doink folks bounce off each other in the writing is really, really good. Progression of the story is great. Like, as Nagomi learns more about the truth of the maid industry, she's just like, she becomes a little more hopeless every time, but she like tries to keep the pure heart of a maid all the time, etc. It's just so good. It's just great. Like, every week I would look forward to this one because it's just ridiculous. It's great. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what else to say. It's just so good. I just loved watching it. It was so stupid, so fun. Like, Akiba Maid War, like, this would, the equivalent of this is like, and I think this is some of the best comedy. Like, this is how you execute some of the best fucking comedy. But, like, imagine you're in class, right? Like, you're in the fucking high school room, like a high school classroom. And your teacher's, like, up there teaching world history or some shit. And every time she turns around, you see, like, a or a sticky note stuck to the back of her shirt. And it says, like, I have meningitis or some shit like that, like something stupid, like I have osteoporosis, and like every time you see it, you just laugh, right? Like, it's just like but like she's up there super serious talking about like World War One or some shit, like the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, but like every time she turns around and sees like I have osteoporosis, and you're just like that's what this is, because it's like it's like this stupid concept that all the characters are taking super seriously, right? It's just so dumb inherently as an idea, but like in terms of the execution and the characters, it's like this is reality, right? Like we have to take this super seriously, and it's great. It's just great. Like if you get what I mean. I'm sure I don't know if I did a great job explaining that, but yeah, great fucking show. I loved Akiba Maid War. It was so stupid and so fun. Great stuff. All right, closing out my seasonals that are not sequels. Of course, it's Bocchi the Rock. Again, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that this show was good, because of course it was. The way that they changed the animation styles throughout this is so creative, so funny, and Bocchi as a character, I think, no matter who you are, I think is relatable to some extent, right? Because social anxiety is something that we've all probably struggled with at some point, and hers to like an extreme degree. And the way they deliver that message, and the way the voice actress, I forget her name, but the way she delivers Bocchi's performance, it just all works, and it's funny, and it's fun to watch, and yeah, great. You know, that's just so much fun every time. Bocchi time, what they call it. Great stuff. And even the setup of the story, like where Bocchi is this super talented guitarist who wants to just break out of her shell. And you know, we have this adorable cast of color-coded supporting girls. It's great. I just love it. And I think like the messaging and the subtlety here with like the you know, the takeaways from this, combined with like how nicely the characters are written, and even how like especially Kita, I think, has like good depth to her character. Not amazing depth, like, you know, you're not gonna go super deep into it, but like she especially, along with Bocchi, like great. Like it just all works to create this super fun and cozy show. And the music is so good too. If you haven't listened to the Kessoku Band album, it really does rock. It's great. And Ikumi Hasegawa on vocals just does a phenomenal job. I just love the way the girls talk to each other. It's so fun, so cozy. And I'm a big fan of this one. And I think it's worth pointing out, that so many have done before me, this was an adaptation of a 4-panel manga, right? Like this, like each edition of it goes for 4 panels. So as far as that goes, this adaptation is unbelievable. It's so good. Like the way they've taken the concepts and converted it into a cohesive story that really works to all of the characters' benefits. It's impressive, incredibly impressive. It is worth mentioning that I think Bocchi time can go a little too long. It drags out and is a bit silly and redundant at some point, but it is usually funny and interesting to watch because it always changes the art style and that kind of thing. I had, you know, I was someone who went into the show from episode 1 as soon as it came out, not knowing what to expect, right? Because like I had this on my plan to watch list for months before this came out, and I had no clue what I was going to get out of it. But I came away feeling like a winner, baby. Great stuff. I just it's funny. It's you know, it's got good character depth, good character development. It's got a nice setting. The music is great, and it's again like character designs aesthetically pleasing and nice. It's just a fun show all the way through. It's just a fun show. Everything that went into the process of making it, from the visuals to the music, great stuff. Big fan of this one. I think like the whole takeaway from it, where it's like, even if you suffer from social anxiety, there are people who will accept you for who you are, and you can break out of your shell, even if it's little by little. It's really nice. So again, I don't feel like I need to sit here and tell you how great the show is. It is very good. All right, so to save myself some grief, next roundup, I'm going to be reviewing the Eminence in Shadow right now with the assumption that it ends, it stops covering light novel material at the end of volume 3, because that's where I've read up to. I don't think it'll even get that far. But I'm going to review the Eminence and Shadow right now because I don't want to redo it next time. And I know enough to get the picture. So I think along with Bocchi and Chainsaw Man, this adaptation is incredible. Like, they just did a wonderful job adapting the whole ideas behind this and the world, because this world is fucking massive. Like, there's so much happening, and it just did a great job taking it nice and slow and really, setting the scene for everything, and letting the characters and the scenes have time to breathe. Adaptation was phenomenal, I thought, and it turns those moments from the light novels that are just kind of like moments to like actual making me burst out laughing moments, like actually rolling on the floor laughing moments. Like, great stuff. Like, it's just, the Eminence and Shadow is so fun. Again, it's just like the thing I mentioned before, where it's like you see the fucking teacher who has the "I have osteoporosis" on her shirt. It's that, right? Because it's like there actually is a lot of problems going on with like the cult of Diablos and all that, but like there's just it's just the setup of it, right? Where it's like Sid doesn't actually believe that the cult is real. He's just kind of goofing off and doing whatever, being a little mischievous, but then everyone else is taking it super seriously. It's just good. And like, again, it's one of those things, like, this is how you do an isekai nowadays. It's just really well done. And even though a lot of the characters don't have as much depth as I like, they're usually fun to watch. And I just like seeing this world, right? Because this is that's the main draw of this, right? Aside from like the whole, Eminence and Shadow angle, which is pretty cool. And it's always funny. The main draw is like, this world is fucking huge. You never know what's going to happen, what's going to get thrown at you next. And even some of the fight scenes, like Sid fighting against, I guess he called her Violet, I don't remember her actual name, but the scary witch from the past, it's visually not bad at all. So I really don't have much to complain about here, and I think a lot of the story beats are fun and they work for the concept and the setup of this show. I especially like the bit, I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but the little tournament that Sid competes in with a separate identity, really fun. And even I think that I even like the what's gonna be hit in volume 3 even better. I don't remember the name of the town, but it's like, they climb up this tower and there's a vampire or something. Whatever it is. But I think the volume 1 content, where it's like everything from the beginning where he's a kid and he meets Alpha up to the school takeover where they get out of that. It's just been really, really good so far, and it lets everything have room to breathe and takes it nice and slow. I really like what they did with the adaptation here. Visuals look great, and of course the story. I'm glad this has gotten as popular as it has, because it does deserve it. It's a really, really fun concept. I just love the way it's set up, and it's funny. It's got a lot of good action, massive world building and characters. It's cool. Like, there's so much mystery behind a lot of the stuff, but at the same time, it's so goofy that you just can't help but love it. So, great stuff. Big fan of the Eminence and Shadow, and it's gonna keep going for another few weeks here. So, yeah. Keep watching it, I guess. Another first is happening right now, which I'm gonna hopefully not spend too long on, but I'm going to review the Quintessential Quintuplets movie, because it came out last month in December. I thought it was great. It was a little rushed, definitely. Even with its 2.5 hour runtime, it was still rushed. But I thought what they did with it was great. Like, the way I think the only way you could have done the school festival arc is the way they did it, where it's like they have a section dedicated to each of the quints, and the visuals were great. Like, I really don't have much to complain about here. As far as an adaptation for that final arc goes, I think it just worked. It started off nicely with like the little water park, and then ended with how it should have, with the wedding. So yeah, it was definitely rushed, and I like the I like the way they handled the school festival. A lot of the important story beats were given the time they needed. We got enough flashbacks to cover all the lore we needed. It was just good stuff, and I like the way everything was handled. And I think the ending it off with the movie was the right call, because I think a full season would have been too much. So yeah, it just works, doesn't it? I was very happy with the movie, and the voice acting performances were so good. So good. Really nailed each of the important bits for each of the 5 quints. Yeah, that's about it. It was just good stuff. I came out a happy boy. All right? I came out of the theater and I was happy. Like, wow. What a good movie. What else do you want from me? All right. Time for sequels. Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out Season 2. More of the same. More of the same. Yeah, again, it feels like there's a lot of web of drama happening here, but I do like that there was a big push between the main two again, and the thing with the Uzaki's dad was interesting. Came to a head. It was, when it came to a head, it was okay. It was decent. It worked. Yeah, it felt like more of the same. And even though I think I prefer this one to like Nagatoro, you just kind of get into a rhythm with it at some point, and this is definitely in the rhythm, because there's nothing like spectacular, at least, you know, relatively spectacular for me to even address in this one. It was just, it was more Uzaki-chan, and if you don't like it, then you're not gonna like it. So, bah humbug. And go fuck yourself. I mean, I don't like when rom-coms drag themselves out pointlessly. I'll be the first to admit that, and I'm sure I've said it a million times. So I do wish we'd made a little more progress romance-wise, but we did get to see more of Uzaki's family, even Shinichi's family, and you know, some of the developments were fine, and I like the supporting casts. Itsuhito and Ami are delightful, both of them. And yeah, it felt like when you came back to this one, it was just like, wow, I never left. It's like I never left. And I do wish it didn't drag itself out, but it was more of the same. And if you like that, then you're going to like season 2 Uzaki-chan. Big fucking whoop there. Whoop-de-doo. Muv-Luv Alternative Season 2. I didn't cover the first season of this, and I don't know why I'm doing the second season. Why I subjected myself to the second part? It wasn't season 2, it was part 2. Muv-Luv Alternative Part 2. This is like 86, but more confusing. And also, Takeru is like the only man in the entire cast. But I believe it's based off a visual novel, so probably a bit tricky. I mean, 86 is good. The biggest difference is that 86 is good. Muv-Luv Alternative is confusing and weird. You know, I'm sure if you were really into it, you could get the whole shebang, but I just don't care. A lot of the characters aren't super interesting. Like, even the main cast of like Takeru's unit, I feel like doesn't get enough screen time, right? Like, I don't even know. I couldn't tell you a single one of their names. Like, that's bad. And it might be because I'm not paying attention, but also, it's just bad. Like, again, it's not a bad show. It's bad that I can't name the names, but it's not a bad show. And I think some of the story beats here were acceptable, at least. And I mean, there was a surprising amount of death in these 12 episodes. You know, having the teacher girl die really caught me off guard because she just kind of got eaten out of nowhere. And I feel like even after all this time with like the beta or whatever, I feel like I don't know what they are. Like they're just an alien species that invaded and they're eating people for the hell of it. There's just so many characters who don't have an important role in the story and are just there to look pretty, which is like okay, but like also why? And Takeru as a main character is fine. Like I get why he went fucking crazy around the middle after Marimo died. It's fine. Like he's not a bad main character. He's just infuriating at points. I don't know what it's like to adapt a visual novel. I can't imagine. But it's so everything is confusing. Everything is weird. Everything is confusing, and it's just like if you want to follow it, you probably can. But like it doesn't give you a reason to want to. Like because it's been so much time, like just saying random shit that has nothing to do with anything. And even like as they're out there fighting in their mechs, I'm like, half the time the camera's like inside the mech, so then you're just listening to them talk, and it's like, well, I'm watching a mech show, I want to see them fight, and they don't even fight that much, and half the dialogue is fucking boring. And they argue with each other a bunch pointlessly, only for Takeru to be like, oh, fuck, you're right. All right, fine, I'll listen. Like, yeah. There's so much pointless nonsense. And I want to see mechs fight. Like, I want to see explosions. I'm a simple man. There are no explosions. Fuck. Anyway, I don't know why I did this to myself. So take my advice, my sage wisdom, and don't do it to yourself. Next up, Spy Family Part 2. What do you want me to tell you? That it was good? Alright, it was good. It's fucking Spy Family. Of course it was good. They just nailed it. Again, they nailed it in Part 1, and they nailed it in Part 2. Big fucking surprise. So, yeah, it's just more Spy Family. It's more ridiculousness. It's more getting in each other's heads, more not knowing what other people are thinking, etc., etc. And the way it ends with the first contact with Donovan Desmond, very solid. My favorite part is the tennis tournament. I think that's hilarious. Good stuff. It's just more Spy Family. It just worked. The performances, voice acting performances are great. Music's great. Visuals are awesome. It's just a fun show, and we do have a movie in season 2 confirmed, so I'm not gonna spend too much time sitting here and telling you that I like Spy Family because it's good. So that is all, pretty much. Like there's nothing like super amazing here. It's just very fun show to watch all the way through. Some parts more so than others, and even like. I like the way that it keeps the main supporting cast pretty small. Like they waited a pretty long while like to introduce Fiona or Nightfall. Like just the way it introduces these characters at a kind of nice rate and lets the other characters have their time to shine. It works and it's good, and I like Spy Family. I wish it would progress a little faster sometimes because we're 25 episodes in and we're like, we've just made contact with the big boss man. But like, what does that mean, right? Like, how much time do we have left if that's the case? Like, where do we go from here? And I don't even think the author knows. So it's good though. It's good. I'm just wondering how long can it like do the same shit? You know what I mean? I think like Spy Family had such a good first 2 episodes. Like its first 2 episodes were unbelievable, so good, and I do think the rest of it kind of has a hard time living up to those first 2 episodes, but at the same time the characters just have enough going for them that it's pretty much always fun, and like the concept and the dynamic between them all is really well thought out and established really nicely and easily. It's just good. It's just a really nice fun show. Like, I think Spy Family is the absolute 100% safest thing to show, like, anime wise, like 100% safest anime to show someone who doesn't like anime, right? Like 100%, this is the kind of thing you can show them and be like, this is what I like, even though you actually like trash harem shows. It's you get the idea. So Spy Family is really good, and it's just fun to watch. So big fucking whoop there. Not a single man, woman, or child on earth is surprised about that. All right, the final anime I'm covering of the year. It's Mob Psycho season 3. So again, this is another one of those shows I'm not gonna fucking sit here and tell you that it was good, because of course it was. It's Mob Psycho. It did a wonderful job with a lot of developments. I don't know how much of it was in the manga. I gotta be honest, never read the manga. So I do think Mob Psycho peaked at the end of season 1. That was my favorite part of Mob Psycho, hands down. But there was a lot of really good stuff in this season too. A lot of the stuff with Dimple around the middle of the show with the tree of crazy miracle tree or whatever the fuck it's called. Really, really nice, like, visuals were fucking stunning, and I loved a lot of the visuals and the subtle storytelling that Mob Psycho uses. Big fan. And the way it ends, I'm not a big fan of the final conflict where it's like, oh, this is me, but it's not me, but it's the one you've locked away because you start expressing your emotions. Whatever. Like it does work for Mob's character. I'm not a huge fan of the way they went about it. Like, that was definitely worth addressing. And the actual ending is wonderful. I think it's great. And, you know, the way they round out both Mob and Reagan's characters at the very end here is just awesome. Really nicely done. And even all the other characters feel complete. It's just a great show. Like, it really is. So, and you know, obviously a lot of the draw is the visuals, and they didn't hold back this season. But yeah, it was just really solid all the way through. Of course, it does dip here and there in terms of pacing, but of course it does. But there's also some wacky things, like the one about the aliens. I'm not sure that was real. I might have been on some sort of hallucinogen. But yeah, other than that, big fan. Good stuff from Mob Psycho here at the very end. Unbelievable, like, visuals, and this way the story rounds out is really nice. All the characters just are great. Reagan is my favorite. I fucking love that dude. And yeah, so it's just the miracle tree, whatever the fuck it's called, tree of life. I don't fucking know. That stuff was good. The very end was all right. Of course, I had a feeling that Suomi would end up rejecting Mob because that felt like too sappy of an ending. And I think Dimple's comeback at the end was like a bit odd, but he's back and that's good. So it's just because it's Mob, it's like it just kind of works. Like the sappy ending, it really does work. But yeah, there's a lot of really subtle story beats here. Storytelling was really nice, or subtle storytelling methods used, like to convey the story beats. Good stuff. Not much to complain about, if any at all. Really, it's just more Mob Psycho, more good stuff, and I really like the way it ends. So yeah, that is about all I have. I will be back next season. There are a lot of shows in winter. I don't know if I'm gonna get through them all. It's 30. It's in the 30s. We'll see what happens. I wasn't really ready to record this. I just was like, I need to go. So I didn't come up with any funny bits. Well, guess I'll die.